cosmos. This morning, we're looking at number 11 of Toy Sensei's 13 Rules for Instructors. I'll read that to you now. Do not be an arrogant teacher. It is a characteristic of key training that a student progresses by following a teacher, and a teacher progresses by leading the students. Please train together with mutual respect and caring. Arrogant people must know that they have a shallow mind. So arrogance, the dictionary says, means possessing an inflated sense of one's importance and abilities. So why would we do that? Why would we have an inflated sense or an exaggerated sense of our value? Well, it must be that we actually don't think much of ourselves if we feel the need to exaggerate our own value. That's right, we have an inferiority complex, is what creates arrogance, pushes arrogance, and insists on this exaggerated sense of oneself. And along with that, when we're arrogant, we're constantly looking for other people to confirm our exaggerated sense of ourselves. So we always need lots and lots of approbation, lots of saying of nice things about us, lots of writing nice articles about us, lots of success as a celebrity, lots of exaggerated press. You know, I always say that if I'm going to believe the nice things that people say about me, then that means automatically I have to believe the not so nice things people say about me. If I don't want to believe those, then I must not allow myself to believe the other ones. Yeah, so the opposite of this would be, we call it humility maybe, or beginner's mind, which is a nice way to describe it. But the activity of it is what we call practice. When we're practicing, we cannot be arrogant. We cannot be exaggerating ourselves, because that requires looking forward and looking backward, right? An arrogant person is always looking forward, concerned about being impressive, saying the right thing, doing the right thing, and being sufficiently entertaining and charismatic that everybody confirms that we're okay, and then looking back and constantly examining our words and actions of the past, just to make sure that we didn't say something that was offensive, or we said something that was really clever and impactful. So that's anti-training rhetoric going on inside our mind. It's examining what is not self. It's examining what is not true. Our practice is just to be present, not looking forward, not looking back, but intensely engaging in what is arising and arising and arising. And it takes all of our attention to practice this way. Right? This is Shugyo practice. This is the first of the year. When we usually, our first seminar is called Shugyo Tase Kikan Shiki seminar. This means I pray that I will be in Shugyo throughout the year, that I will constantly be practicing with full attention in the moment. I pray that I will constantly not be arrogant all year. That's basically what we're saying. Because there's no standing still. We're either moving forward in our training or we're moving backward. There's no treading water. There's no doing nothing. Everything is practicing in every moment. And if we're looking forward and looking backward and examining ourselves, comparing ourselves to other people, that's the superiority and inferiority business is all established and maintained by comparing ourselves with other people. And when we're doing that, we cannot be practicing. We all have arrogance. No one is free of it. When we think we are, we're probably being arrogant to think so. Exaggerating our humility. Excuse me. So it pays to be engaged in our practice 100% and not worry one way or the other about arrogance or humility, but to actually practice. And then there's no sense of self one way or the other. There's no sense of time passing. There's no sense of place. We're just completely engaged in following the mirror universe, moment by moment by moment. And this way we're free. Okay. Let's begin our sitting with some key breathing. Okay. Let's begin. Room number 1.
Good morning, Sensei. Good evening, everyone. I was in group number 1 with Aiko, Kayomi, and Fincher.
Akiko.
Yeah, Aiko.
Eiko.
Aiko, yes.
Yeah.
So we talked about, I guess the conversation began by why would a teacher who's in the position of being a teacher, and in other words, trying to share something with students, ever want to be arrogant? Why would this happen? They're in a position of giving, sharing, helping others. So there was a comment about that, about why it would even occur or rise in someone to be arrogant. And then also comments about this kind of double side of the coin. Arrogance is also, it's like a reflection or the other side of the coin as being like inferiority, a sense of inferiority. So this came up. And we kind of finished our conversation by discussing whether we need to, that if we all have this seed within us, if we're all arrogant, then trying to get rid of it would seems like a futile effort, right? It's like arrogance trying to get rid of arrogance. So of course the solution we came up with was noticing, recognizing, realizing that this is the condition. This is what is in this moment when we're speaking, acting in a certain way, that arrogance is present, right? Or inferiority is present. So
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. I just got an email this morning from a student in another dojo far away, excuse me, who's been practicing key breathing for 30 or 40 years. He does 1 hour a day, 1 hour each morning. And lately he'll sit down to begin breathing, and then he has a bell that goes off in 1 hour. And he said, I'm missing the hour now. I don't know what happened. Could I comment on that? Yeah. So this is related. Of course, it's self-obsession to worry about being humble or arrogant. When we're practicing, when we're living life completely, just like when we're having fun, doing anything, we completely don't think about ourselves. In fact, if we start thinking about how much fun we're having, the fun kind of goes away. You can't be self-possessed or self-conscious when you're free, because it's a bondage. It's a kind of a obsession. So I'm not suggesting that we shouldn't notice what's going on, but we shouldn't invite it. You know, eat when you're hungry, but if you're not hungry, why would you eat? When it comes up in the present, it needs to be dealt with, noticed, listened to, embraced, engaged in some way. We don't know what way because we can never know ahead of time. But we can always know that there's only one thing that counts, and that's what's happening right now. So we always just address this. So to take something and go, arrogance, or, and this is interesting because in some sense, you may think, well, I have to do that every week because something comes up and I go, arrogance. But it's not quite like that. I mean, I have to be very careful also when I'm sending my little note out about something like that. It's not just, that doesn't just, I just don't know that stuff, kind of deal. I just have to sit down and be present with it and embrace it and see what comes up. And I write down what comes up and then I send it out. I don't know. I don't think that we really even need to analyze that. I'm just saying that learning how to address only what is presently required is huge. Somebody who said, was wondering how could a teacher ever become arrogant? Well, let me tell you, teacher or not teacher, everybody becomes self-obsessed. Students and teachers alike. So it's not worth worrying about, but it's worth paying attention to when it arises. I think that's what this whole life is about, is just learning to deal with what needs to be dealt with today. Let look at the lilies of the field kind of deal. That's what he was talking about, that Jesus of Nazareth. Don't worry about whether you're gonna be humble or arrogant. Just pay attention and be in complete service of the moment. So it takes sacrifice, and it takes a willingness to serve. Well, okay. Thank you very much. Okay, group 2, please.
Hello, everyone.
Oh, Alexei.
We were with Olaf, Lutz, and Phoenix, and we shared each other our experience and thoughts. And Olaf told about what you just commented about how properly balance between arrogance and humble. And yeah, but I told that I was more, I would say, touched by your phrase in your email for this lesson that teachers should be, how to say, proper representative of practice.
A shining example.
Yeah, exactly, shining example. And for me, I understand that maybe I am not enough shining example because I'm not paid to, I don't know, full my attention to the practice. And how to say, this is touch myself inside of me, and I don't know whether it's arrogance or humble. And I don't know how. Just notice this, and as you said, surf the moment, or should we somehow deal with this inside of us?
Well, yeah, that's a good question. You know, if you notice something, when we notice something, it means that there's something there for us. It doesn't mean that we have to torture ourselves trying to find the answer of what's there. Excuse me, when we give our attention over to the moment, to what is arising. And what is arising is constantly this phrase that the teacher used. And it feels a certain way inside us, right? It gives us a certain kind of feeling, maybe almost unsureness, lack of surety about that. And I think that's a very healthy thing, to be unsure. And if you go to your students while being unsure, that is being a shining example right there. You see, it's just not a self-conscious, premeditated shining example. It's not a shining example. It's just being real. And that's what the students long for in a teacher.
They feel this.
Yeah, because that's where they're at. They want a teacher who's having their experience, who understands them, and supports in them what he supports in himself, which is the requirement to practice, to be present. Okay. Thank you. All right, group 3, please.
Hi, good morning and good evening to all, and hello, Sensei. I was in the group with Mele, Gloria, and Christelle, and I think maybe if we look at arrogance as a bad thing, then we're looking for counters to it. So Christelle brought up the idea of honesty as in the dojo as maybe as a counter to being arrogant, where you're open and you're sharing honesty. Gloria brought up a similar, she brought up a similar idea in the sense of humbleness. And she used Nalawai Sensei as an example, where he said, just be open to other people's teachings. And he left it open to people. So in Christelle's sense, it was honesty. In Gloria's sense, it was humbleness. And then Mele brought up the idea that it's something we have to let go of being arrogant. you know, where she took what you were saying about being 100% in the moment, we tend to get caught up in that we're constantly judging ourselves, looking in the past, trying to be something in the future. So I kind of think of it as like driving down the highway and running into those bumps on the road, where it gives you an indication you're not quite in the middle of the road. So I'm wondering if maybe arrogance, it's not a bad thing. It's just a condition of what is, and that it is something to be aware of when you're hitting those bumps. So I think arrogance, is it not arrogance to think that we have to be perfect? You know, trying to think that we're being perfect. It's like Melly brought up, it's kind of this cosmic arrogance that we have more control over things and conditions than we really do. And it's kind of, I think Boyer Sensei brought up the idea of that futility. So
yeah,
that's what we have.
Yeah, yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, really, come on. What really is arrogance when you think about it? What really is an inflated sense of how important I am, and an inflated sense of my abilities to become perfect, or to be honest, or to be humble, or to be any word you can think of. It's completely beside the point. We're supposed to be practicing, not figuring out what everybody's supposed to do, and not figuring out what we're supposed to do, and comparing ourselves. I mean, if you say, I appreciate the idea of honesty. I like that too. I appreciate the idea of humility. We like that too. We don't like the idea of arrogance, although we all practice it all the time. We're just judgment vehicles. We're monsters of constantly judging ourselves and others to be this, that, or the other thing, instead of practicing. Yeah. So we're always looking to balance something, or we're looking at a teacher or a friend, and saying, oh, well, this is a really good example of arrogance or humbleness or on. Come on. Who are you to judge such a thing? How could you possibly know that? Right? Just practice. Just be unsure. Because that's our natural state, a kind of awe or openness, which is true awareness. I like that. Thank you very much. Excuse me. Okay, next group, please.
Morning, Sensei. Good morning, everyone. Good evening, everyone. I had Sally and Reasoner Sensei in our group. And then, of course, the first thing I say goes, am I arrogant to think I'm not arrogant? And then Tracy just laughs. But, of course, Reasoner Sensei was saying that your students are a reflection of the teacher. And so when he sees out there something, he goes, oh, I better teach a little differently here, or in that fashion. And then Sally, she's the most humblest and humility person I know, to be honest. But who might have judged that just from my observation and every time I talked to her? But she couldn't talk on the thing, her voice wouldn't work. And then, but also since Tracy Sensei and I, we beat ourselves up a lot, so my arrogance is thinking I should be better than I actually am at whatever it may be,
Wait, David.
Yeah.
Your arrogance is not thinking you should be better than you are. Your arrogance is thinking you would know such a thing to begin with.
Right.
That's very different.
Right.
It's not the same thing.
Thank you.
Please continue.
Yes, and then and actually not really, like I said, paying attention to the moment, like say even in conversations with someone, say a spouse even, because you're not interested at all in what they're talking about. And you just half listen to them and you half don't, and and that's so bad, you know. And and it happens all the time with me. But then it all comes back to, from our teaching, just paying attention to the moment. You don't have that if you're just in that space, of paying attention. And yeah, of course, I would mumble to myself and not even know that I'm mumbling to myself about a mistake or something. Of course, caught me many times at that and pointed it out to me. I didn't even realize that I was doing that,
Thank you, David. The three great teachers I've trained with, Koichi Toi Sensei, Shinichi Suzuki Sensei, and Shinichi Toi Sensei, all have one thing in common. I mean, I'm sure there are many other great teachers. Those are the three that I've trained with most. And the thing they all have in common is they teach only basics. Now, I will say that I only trained with Toi Sensei during the last half of his life. And maybe when he was younger, he was a little more into entertaining and getting students because he maybe felt he had to be. But as he matured, and for Suzuki Sensei, same thing. And look at the age of Shinichi Toi Sensei. Basics at 40 years of age. He's already. Now, he can really move, and he's entertaining when he does show us some fancy movement that he does. But it's all at the service of teaching the value of basics. So basics in Aikido training is like basics in life. It's doing the practice again and again and again. How many seminars Shinichi Toi Sensei starts with rise on your toes and or shake the hand of your partner. One of those two things he uses always. And then progresses from there through all the basics of how to give yourself over to your partner, to connect, to give yourself over to the moment that's arising. And there's no room in any of that for worrying about whether you're good enough or not.
Hi, Sensei.
Okay. Next group, please. Thank you. I think the last group, or was that the last group? I think no.
Good morning, Sensei. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Sensei. Good morning and good evening, everyone. I'm Vitaly. I was in group number 5 with Linkuti Sensei, Prakash Sensei, and Bill. And we discussed arrogance. And Prakash Sensei said, what does it mean not to be arrogant? It means not to show that you're special, somehow special, you're a special person. And the question arises, do student feels that his sensei, his or her sensei is special? I do. I think my sensei is special person, and I communicate with my sensei as with a special person because of respect, because of culture, and because he knows much more than I am. And students see how I communicate with my sensei, and they try to communicate with me in such a way. How show to students that you're not special? How should I do this? What can I do with this problem?
You mean personally?
I guess it's not only my problem. I guess it's many of people who have students faces the problem.
So let me ask you, Vitali, what is the problem? Why is that a problem? Why do you feel required to show others that you are not special, that you are not arrogant?
Yeah.
Why do you feel this necessity? Why must you do
because
that?
of topic. Because I guess the gap between me and my sensei much more than me and my students, and I think I guess I have to be closer to my students than I am.
Okay. Well, all right. So, if I understand correctly, you feel your teacher is a special person,
Yeah.
as you should, as you must, because he's your teacher. But that doesn't mean he's trying to make you think of him as special. If he's really special, he's not thinking about it at all. He's only giving you his sincere practice all the time. So if you're doing that with your students, that's enough. You don't have to be concerned with, am I special or am I not special? What could I do to be more special? Am I not special enough? That's arrogance to think about. To even think about it is arrogance. Just meet with your students and connect with them personally, as I think you know. That's enough. And you will grow with your students. That's what Toy Sensei says in the saying for this week. And when he talks about arrogance, he says the teacher is supposed to learn by leading the students. And the students are supposed to learn by following the teacher. This is natural. So leading the students means giving them your 100% attention and support. That's enough. Then they'll probably think you're special, but whether they do or not doesn't matter to you. Right? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And thank you, everyone. Domo arigatou gozaimashita. I look forward to seeing you next week. I really enjoyed this. Bye-bye. Aloha.